Boards. Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, board games, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off my morning with a little bit of singing. And hello, hello there, Xate. I'm sorry that I'm starting marginally late. Today I'm going to talk about this box. It's covered in drawings, but none of them are of locks. This box is expansions for In a Bind. It was released in the year known as 22015. Board games, it's what's talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. And hello there to Al Naughton, who is upon their vacation. And we're going to make this happen. I am going to be talking about in a bind, expansions, in a bind. Um, that's our situation. Hello, everyone. I've got a slightly different camera setup. I think I should have laptop here, but I did thanks to this to try and stop it from. I'm still working out the space. Do you know what I mean? Maybe between now and 1 p.m. I'll move some boxes so that I've got space to move this like that. Anyway, let's not go into that whole behind the scenes thing. Basically, sorry if I'm kind of only looking at you half the time. I am going to today I will be unboxing In a Bind expansions. Oh my gosh, I'm so unprepared. In a Bind expansions. It's basically not just about the unboxing, it's also about the stories. It's about me kind of sharing what's happened. I am Bez. This is approximately brunch time. This is the board game Blether. Today we're talking about the In a Bind expansions, and let me chuck this in here just so that if someone pops in, they know what's going on. And let's start off in our usual way. Brilliant thing, here's a little thing which is brilliant. I want to talk about black and white art. This is very self-serving, but in all sincerity, I just think that there's something lovely when you kind of choose limitations. It changes your artwork. Do you know what I mean? And so for me, I think that I love to play with color. I think that color can definitely add a lot to an artwork. But conversely, if we've got only the black and white, then we've still got tone, we've got shade, the shape of the curves, and it allows us to focus on other things. Also, it gives us a certain tone. It says, okay, maybe this is not just for kids. And I don't know, that's a vague thing. Also, phones are brilliant. Not just smartphones, but just phones in general. Just being able to phone people, that's pretty darn awesome. Recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights. And let me know, feel free to share in the comments, what are your recent highlights? What are games that you've been playing? I'll tell you, games. What have I been playing? What are their names? I've played 2 games. I played Puzzle, which I still need to edit some parts of the rule sheet. It's making me feel like, frankly, the version that I upload today, it's going to be version 0.8 of the rules, which is slightly unsatisfying, but there you go. It's better than not having any version at all. And hopefully people will be able to enjoy Puzzle. Anyway, that is a game that I played 3 times yesterday whilst Prey was watching intensely and learning the rules, and I played it on the medium setting and won. I played it on the hardest setting and I got 4 remaining, or trying to get 0. I played it on the easiest setting. I just blitzed through it. And then I got to a score of 1 as opposed to 0. 0 means that you actually win. Hello, Nick. It's lovely to see you. By the way, Nick, is your name actually spelt Nik? As in, there's no C in there, just wondering. I also played in a bond, as did Xate. Fair enough, there we go. So Nick is Niklaus. Is that Germanic? And yeah, we did play in a bond together, didn't we, Xate? For me, I was really happy with how it worked. There's definitely changes to be made. We're having infinite shares today. We're making sure that people keep track of their own stuff, but that's definitely an event game. It feels like, even though it's a party game, that is a game that people might actually congregate to play. I might even see if people are up for doing that on my birthday. I mean, if it's myself and Chris and Nicole and Layla and Angie, even if no one from the household joins in, and hopefully at least one person will join in. Oh yeah, I didn't get to play. That's true. Aw. But I got to watch it, and that was good fun. I did technically take a turn in 2 games yesterday. I took a turn. I've got a game ongoing of Crazy Farmers and Occlutus Electrics. I played that one of my turns yesterday and one of my turns just this morning. That's good fun, kind of zooming around and navigating. And yeah, Rob and David made a really crazy good move where it's like, okay, I'm about to just popping in just so that I can't get my there's a little bit of blocking going on. I wonder if at optimal play there's going to be too much, okay, I'm going here just so that you can't drive through, because it's like Kicks, you're kind of drawing fences around your, when I say drawing fences, I mean you're like placing these little rectangular fancy things. And then yeah, great game. The other one that I played was Ponte del Diablo. That's good fun. And oh wait, are you saying that you are hearing me twice? That's really weird. Are you saying you're hearing me twice? How's it right now? No, thanks for letting me. Okay. And anyway, so this is, are you still hearing me with a big echo? Because I don't know what to do about this. I've taken off the audio of my phone, so it's not just the 2-camera setup. This must be something going wrong with my laptop. Okay, let me know if it's back when I start doing the unboxing. Anyway, so today, just so people know, and we've had other people playing in a bond, and we've had Alan Outson playing lots of Bonanza. Nice game. The Mind, great game. High Society, oh my god, that's so good. On holiday. Our favourite by a long mile is Bonanza. Yeah, I can dig it. I slightly prefer Am the Boss. Have you played Am the Boss? I really like Bonanza. I found that for me, I would be happy to play Bonanza pretty much any time with anyone who invites me, but I kind of got rid of Bonanza and Settlers of Catan purely because, okay, now I've got Am the Boss. Any situation where I would be happy to play Bonanza or Settlers of Catan, I feel I would kind of rather play Am the Boss, basically. Oh, that's sad. But maybe you'll get to join us today at 2 p.m. because at 2 p.m. we are having the repeat of In a Bond. Yeah, so let me go on to, I'm going to be doing a unboxing of, now let me know how the sound is changing. So I'm unboxing this, and if you have any questions along the way about the artwork or anything, because obviously I did all the artwork and the design and development and the self-publishing. So if you have any questions about this game, let me know along the way. do feel free to comment, ask questions, follow. I love it when people are chattering along. I'm not going to be able to respond to literally everything that's written, but I will try to do stuff as much as I can. And now we have a questionably quick question for myself. Do we have a questionably quick question? The questionably quick question is, should Nick join in today? And I'm going to say yes. And what oh, wait. Oh, cool. I've muted. Okay, has it gone? Has it gone now? Let me ask you. I forgot to mute one of the cameras. That's what's happened. Oh my God, there's so many steps now. Phew, I'm so happy. But yeah, wow, this is turning into a real technical thing. I'm sure that once I've done multiple of these things, it'll be easier. Anyway, so today I will be unboxing the Inner Bind expansions, and yep, this is what we are going to do. Let me just copy something. So yeah, just so for those who don't know, this is the 5-year anniversary of Inner Bind and Inner Bind expansions. So let's look at it. Let's start off with the box. On the side it says Inner Bind by Bez. I mean, that's rather than write expansions, what I wanted to do was write little symbols. Yeah, it's not the best at focusing really closely, which is a shame. But so here, this symbol means that there's community cards. This symbol means there's wild cards. This symbol means there's like little actions that you sometimes have to do. This symbol means that sometimes there's talking that you have to do. And these are all new things that weren't in the original game. And so, yeah, but a lot of people say, oh yeah, I've got Inner Bind, the one with the black and white box. But it's not Inner Bind, is it? It's the expansions. And it never had a barcode because I never planned for it to get into really be in shops. This was like going to be limited to 1,000. Inner Bind by Bez and Inner Bind. It is kind of pointless. That side is the same as that side. Yep. So probably not the best design choice. Now on the outside of the box, you can see literally, although the truth is that I did make a couple of mistakes. I don't know if you can see, I actually while I was pasting all the cards, I pasted one of the cards 3 times because I'm only human and I do make mistakes sometimes. But this was my attempt to basically say, hey, look, this is all the things that you get in the box. Here's a sneak preview of what you're getting into the box. So, yeah, we're going to get a lot of wild cards, spoken cards, actions, and these things. Now, let me also talk about, and finally, the numbers. So, yeah, it was 1,063 of this one, and I think 1,070 something, like 72, 73. I think it might have been 72. I remember the final digit being different. So, the main deck had 1,072 copies, and the reason why this is limited to 1,063 is because I asked for 1,000 of each, and yeah, Cartamonte just kind of sold me a few extra because they're allowed to do 10% overs because it's easier for them if they just shut down the machines at a slow pace. That's the way that things go. Doing exactly 1,000 when you're mass producing is quite a bit harder than saying, okay, we've got approximately 1,000, it might be plus or minus 10%, and that was written into the manufacturing contract. Otherwise, it can lead to wastage, actually. I should also say that just because it says 743 of 1,063, this does not mean that I have 320 copies, because I was writing the numbers in a really disorganized way. When I first started, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to number them all straight away, like just take a week to do it. And the truth is that there's a bunch of copies that I've just never numbered. Some of them I started numbering from the start. Some of them I started numbering from the end and working backwards because it's like, hey, what number did I get to? Well, I can't remember. Okay, I'm going to number them backwards from now on. And so there's like a bunch in the middle. And all the numbers that have been written by me, I promised are unique, the ones that actually have a signature. And but yeah, I think that the number 1 went to my housemate / living landlord at the time, Rocky, who was yeah, it felt really meaningful that they supported me. Now let's open the box. None of the boxes had outer shrink, and I'm glad to report that very few of them were damaged, so although a few were. So this is the way it comes in. It was shrink wrapped with the paper and the cards together, and the paper meeting the size of the cards exactly, which I quite like. This was a paper size that Cards Monday suggested. We'll see how easily that comes off. That's so nice. Let's start. Should we do the instructions first? Yeah, let's do the instructions first. I can't remember what I wrote here. I honestly can't. Okay. In a time of apathy and stagnation, one small box of cards will deliver excitement. Wars will be quenched and floods repelled, disasters averted and joy delivered to the masses. The universe itself will ultimately be saved by the Inner Bind expansions. For experienced players, by Behruz Esman Shahriari, that's alright. It used to be my identity back before so why? Let me talk about that. So I basically took on the identity of Bezman because I think it was true story. I used to play Pokemon, back when it was red and blue or green, depending on whether you were Japan or UK, and yellow, which came shortly after. Anyway, so this Pokemon red and blue or green, and I think I got both versions. I think I might have even gotten 3 versions because I was really annoyed that the USA version, they'd actually put in measures to stop the USA version from being tradable with the EU version. That's not cool, Nintendo. Anyway, so I started up this Pokemon club where we'd meet at I wrote this little Pokemon fanzine, and the local board game shop, they would sell it for 50 pence and basically give me 100% of the money, which now I think about it, I didn't actually realize how generous they were being at the time. But yeah, I guess I did also bring people to the shop in so much as I organized events, and I hosted little clubs for Pokemon people, and some of the games that we played were involving the game itself. Some of the games we played were kind of, okay, let's play little memory games involving the names of the Pokemon or things like that. And sometimes it would be just, okay, let's do little social things. And I would even bring prizes myself that maybe it was like jigsaw puzzles that I no longer wanted, or it was like a couple of times that I actually was like, okay, here's some games that I kind of don't want anymore. What can I do with them? Oh, I know. Let's make this Pokemon Club a little bit more exciting. And so, give something away. Because it's not just about what you actually get. It's kind of fun to get something given to you, isn't it? Anyway, so during that's actually, I got known as Bez, given my birth name being Behruz Shahriari, or actually Behruz Bahman Shahriari. Bahman, so Behruz means better day, Shahriari means related to the king, and Bahman is like a historical name based on, I can't remember, it's an archer or something. I do speak fluent Farsi for those who care, and I don't feel super connected to my Iranian ancestry. I did used to go there every year until I turned 18, but now because of military service, I don't. Anyway, so the point is, during this whole I got called Bez because Behruz, B-E-Z. Of course, Behruz, I'm going to be called Bez. That's the way it's going to be shortened. Even before we'd heard of Bez from the Happy Mondays, yes, I know there's a Bez from the Happy Mondays, and realistically, I'm never going to be as famous as Bez from the Happy Mondays, unless you're kind of in a board game circle, I guess. Like maybe in board game circles, to some people I might be more famous than Bez from the Happy Mondays, which I feel is kind of an achievement. And to be fair, there's always some people, like back in those days at school, I don't know if that's a genuine question. Are you being serious? So the Happy Mondays are, maybe someone else can explain it. It's a musical group, and wow. So apparently I was the only Bez that Xate had heard of until last week, and now I'm just exploding their world. Like now there's me, there's Bez Ely, who legally changed their name to Bez, and so arguably they are more Bez than me. Although I did have, I should say, my name Bez emblazoned on here, and like even though I've scrolled it out, you can just about see it here, because the L deck is now stuffed by everyone. But I do still want people to know that I originated it, so I'm quite happy with that logo. And of course, on the front of the box. So, but yeah, Bez from the Happy Mondays is like a person who gets, who was known for, I believe, being high on drugs and dancing and playing the maracas. So anyway, I was known as Bez since primary school. And when I was doing this Pokemon club, people started me calling, "Hey, Bez man," like kind of as a way to, this was maybe when I was, I don't know, 12 years old. I can't remember. When was Pokemon actually released? I'm probably going to date myself. Pokemon Red. So Pokemon Red. So I can tell you that I was 16 years old when it was released. So if you look up Wikipedia, you can work out my, so I was 16 years old when it was released. And so I was kind of on the older side of who was playing this. I was still of the age where I felt like I could just spend a lot of time playing this and playing RPGs. And I was super into Super Nintendo. True story, I have a lot of SNES games. I mean, there was someone who once told me that one day I will be famous for having lots of SNES games. I mean, I hope I'll be famous for other things. But anyway, the point is that during that whole Pokemon thing, people started calling me Bezman, and I didn't really question it. I was just, okay, great. This is this kind of, like, it's a form of respect, and I adopted that as my persona, and I didn't really question it until several years later, and when I was in London, maybe 8 years ago, and I was like, it was after this that I started thinking, hey, why do I have this gendered thing in my name? It's just really weird, and maybe I don't want to be known as a man. Maybe I want to be known as a them, or yeah. Anyway, so I don't want to get too far into that rabbit hole, but I just want to point out that this is something that is now not something I wish to be known as. And also inabindgame.com/Lee, that URL no longer works. So, carrying on with the rules. This box contains free expansions for In a Bind. Some of these cards change the game a lot. 10 triggered binds add vocal elements for extra silliness. The wild cards add great creative and sadistic potential. Yeah, I love those wild cards. They were my favorite bits. I mean, so with the wild cards, you have to kind of, if you were playing by tournament rules, I did invent a set of tournament rules that actually makes them work, and I will explain it when I get to them. And those tournament rules, you can see them on Board Game Geek. Actually, I'll explain them now. But I'll add commentary in a moment. Triggered binds and communal binds bring in some movements and minor memory elements. Every group is different, so please read through the instructions, try them out, and use whatever combination of cards you prefer. I think this is to what I was trying to do. I was trying to get people to say, hey, if you want to have a big group, then try the communal binds. If you want extra silliness, try the triggered binds, which look like this. If you want extra creativity potential, then try the wild cards. Speaking of the wild cards, here are some pictures of them. Some cards omit words, saying something like this card touching what? If you're playing the Fast and Furious game, the player to your right decides what words what should be. If you're playing the slow and sadistic game, whomever plays, should that be whomever or should that be whoever? I don't know. I feel like, I never got my stuff professionally proofread until I went to the LDEC. And I kind of regret that. I mean, Rachel Mortimer, so brilliant. If you need someone proofreading your stuff in English, go to Rachel Mortimer. They are really good at what they do. And they are fairly inexpensive. Like, for a 2-page sheet like this, it might be okay, £20. And although that's a fair bit of money, but when you're mass producing, 1,000 copies, and some of them are going to be sticking around and you're potentially going to be unboxing it 5 years down the line, it would be nice if you knew for sure that you hadn't been making grammatical mistakes. So yeah. Anyway, whoever plays the card fills in the blank for their victim. For example, the card to the right, this card touching what, could be touching your nose, touching your left knee, touching your glass of wine, touching the bottom of the chair you're sitting on, touching the hands of everyone on your team. Whatever you decide should be difficult, but never literally impossible. Wild cards work well for groups who are having a laugh. Have fun. Don't be a dick. And that is the fundamental rule that should govern it in the party game version. I hope I gave some good examples. So it could be touching your nose, something that exists in the normal game. Touching your left knee, that didn't exist at the time. It might exist now with Yogi Guru. Touching your glass of wine or the bottom of the chair you're sitting on. These are things where, just bringing in... Oh, morning, Alex. Yes, I do play SNES. I love SNES, but not here. I don't have my SNES down here, although I might one day bring it down. But I've got a collection of, I don't know how many hundred games. It's a 3-digit number for sure. I don't tend to like... My favorite game for the SNES, if you want to ask, because I could see that question coming, Uni Rally, also known as Uni Racers in the USA. Anyway, so back to the point. So touching your glass of wine, touching the bottom of the chair you're sitting on. So these are kind of examples of the wild cards. Like one finger touching what? It could be one finger touching your glass of wine, and you've always got to be touching your glass of wine, or you've always got to be touching the chair. And this is a joyous thing. I've had games where someone said, okay, one finger touching that painting over there, and then for the next card, it's okay, one finger touching that painting over there. They've got to stand out, and then they've got to somehow pick up the cards with their feet. I've had games where someone, true story, so yeah, I was at a board game cafe. I just want to tell you that I think this was Max XP in Glasgow, and yeah, so it was discard in what? And the person said, discard in that person's shoe. Now, that person was not involved in the game. So the person who had to get it into their shoe called them over and said, hey, we are playing this weird game. Would you be able to put this card into your shoe? And through social negotiation, the other person agreed, because, it was a board game cafe. Games are going to be played, and they were acquaintances at least. And then the person said, okay, but if I do this, next time we play a game together, you've got to do me good trade or something. And I feel like, I don't know what happened to those two people, but I like to believe that by virtue of the wild cards, I kind of strengthened and deepened their bonds slightly. Now, talking of the tournaments rules, which I mentioned I'd be getting to later, with a party game, it's basically whatever you decide should be difficult, but never literally impossible. Wild cards work well for groups who are having a laugh. Have fun, don't be a dick. Now, if you're playing by the tournament rules, where you are playing to win and you're playing hard, and that is totally fine. I like people playing hard. And the tournament rule is, If someone gives you a wild card and you believe it is literally impossible, then what you do is you stop doing everything that you are doing. And then they stop doing everything that they were doing, and they try to do all your binds and the wild card that they just gave you. Now, if they can do it and draw their next card, then they have proved that it is not, in fact, literally impossible. And then the person who blew the whistle, so to speak, is just eliminated from the game. Now, the person who blew the whistle, if it is indeed found out to be literally impossible, I can't remember how that resolves, but basically then they are back in the game. The person who made the wild card is eliminated, and then they go back to doing all their things. So they've essentially had a free 30-second break. Now, yeah, so when I played this, let me try and tilt this down a tiny bit. When I played this in Sophie's bar, I want to say, could I maybe get up a video? I think Kickstarter in a bind. Still not checked it out enough recently to make it go to the top of my searches in a bind. And sorry for the slightly glare camera. I'm going to just share my screen for in a bind. And this is something that you can see on Kickstarter. And so that's the one where I went around London. Let me see if...
Discard in right armpit.
Yeah, anyway, that's not what I want to show you. Maybe I'll show you that tomorrow. What I really want to show you is this video. I'm guessing that you can hear the audio of the video and you can also hear my voice. Tell me if it kind of works at least. So yeah, this is my good friend Maquette. Oh, there's Liz. Oh, I'm hoping to see Liz later today. Oh, and maybe if Liz is feeling up to it, we might. So basically, you'll notice that this is all based on Magic Commons, and yeah, in retrospect, I don't know what the situation is, but I love the fact that this is just a video of people laughing. And I want you all to know that we played the first round of Basic in a Bind, and then we played the second round, and then we had all the wild cards. I mixed in so many wild cards. I mixed in like half the deck was wild cards. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, people are just making noises. There's just a bit of laughter. Maybe I'll just even do that. Or does it give nice background noise, or is it annoying? Let me know. So we had people like Stuart who said discard on top of your pint, because Stuart basically wanted to stop someone drinking their pint, and it's like, okay, now if you want to have the card, if you want to play the game, you are forfeiting drinking, so you have to make that choice. I've got, yeah. Oh, that was popcorn on the lap. Yeah, and so yeah, I felt like when I did the Kickstarter at the time, it was at the end of the Kickstarter that I basically said, you know what, if this works, I will at least get the wild cards made, because I really wanted people to be able to experience the wild cards. And that's why I'm really happy that Yogi Guru brings in the wild cards. Anyway, how much is left? Oh, and then we had a big group thing, and this was about 12 people, I want to say. This was probably why I put 3 to 10. Even though when you get... I will say that what I didn't remember at the time was that this 3 to 10, I played the 3 to 10 with the wild cards, and Yeah, so really it should have been, it's 3 to 7, and then if you bring them both together, then it's 3 to 10, or maybe. Yeah. If you want to check that out, you can see that yourself on the Kickstarter page. So the point is, yes, the wild cards add so much to it. Let me go through all the wild cards now. That seems like a reasonable order to do things. So we've got one fit. I should say, oh, this camera is quite hot. It's freezing up again. Your mic is muted. Can I do anything? Okay, this is just going to be really laggy and slow, and I can't work out how to solve this, but hopefully it will work out. So one finger touching what? You'll notice that I've got them all as question marks. One finger touching what? There are duplicates of these wildcards because, yeah, you're going to be doing different things with them. I expect you to be changing them around. Just noticing that this particular deck has a bit of a mark on the middle. That's not great, and it's like little... Yeah, maybe that shouldn't have been shrink wrapped in the way it was. But anyway, it's got like a little bend. I don't know if you can see it. One finger touching what again? And I think that that picture is meant to be of me, because I can tell by my distinctive unibrow. And right hand below what? Oh, that's an allusion. This one is an allusion to Scott McCloud, creator of the 24-hour comic. You can tell by their signature check shirts, lightning bolts symbol, and glasses. Left hand above what? Little ninja. Right elbow above what? Here's the monkey bear thing from the main game of finger touching armpit. To what? Touching. So yeah, throughout this deck, I basically symbolized the what as little stylized question marks. In Yogi Guru, I know that Simon Caruso did it as squiggles, trying to have a bunch of people of different cultures and ethnicities, and even species. Here's a goblin. A hand on what? Here's, like, it's not quite a kilt. I think that's one of those so-called leather kilts, which, let's be honest, when you talk about a leather kilt, I kind of wish that people would just say, yeah, I'm wearing a leather skirt because, hey, it should be fine. A kilt is a very specific garment. A kilt is woven, it's woolen. The kilt is has the tartan on it, and a kilt is a single piece of fabric that wraps around and then it fastens. If you zip it up, if you it's not a kilt. If you can't turn it into a rug, essentially, then it's not a kilt. If it's not pleated, then it's not a kilt. But I've got nothing against people wearing whatever they want. But I do feel like kind of if we just started calling these, okay, we're wearing. I mean, maybe that language is something that we need, but I just wish that we could normalize people wearing whatever they want. Left hand touching what? Here's a big, chubby, naked person, just wanting to have different body shapes and stuff. Right hand touching what? So with these, this is where I did have duplication, as I said, because of the binds. Sometimes it's really interesting to have one finger touching this, one finger touching that, and it was about how much potential do you have, and the more restrictive something is, the less fewer copies I wanted to have. Right hand on what? What touching me? So it might be popcorn touching me. Discard in what? I think one of these was the ones that was discard in that person's shoe, which is probably part of the reason why there's two of them. Now, all of this art, I want to say it was done only with something like 3 brushes and yeah, literally just the brushes. Even the typography was all brushed in, and as opposed to penned in, and 1 pencil. So it was pencil, don't even bother deleting, gets it down. Because the way I saw this was that, okay, here, in the original in the binds, I've got this kind of tight style. I've worked really hard to make it. These ones took me multiple hours to do. Here, these ones took me literally about 20 minutes per card, because it's like, okay, get down, do a few washes, maybe have 1 brush for the darker bits and for the lettering, 1 brush for the slightly softer bit. And I'm quite happy with how it turns out. I mean, looking back on it, yeah, I kind of agree with JP that there is some energy here, that there isn't really so much energy in the original ones. This is where I was just like, yeah, I'm going to do it however I want. Did I might have used a pen here. I think I almost certainly did, just for inside the artwork. So I've this covering what, and then the card is covering itself. If you can look, it's got a card and a card and a card and a card. And in the final one, there's lots of bits of writing. Here's this one. This card's covering what? Again, I mean, oh no, this card's touching what? Okay, there we go. That's why it's not really covered. I was about to say, that's not covering. That's just touching. What's hidden? How could I show it's hidden? Well, maybe it's in the closet, literally. This card between what? I really like these 2 cards. I mean, it sounds self-aggrandizing, but, you know, when I look at these, I feel like, you know what, actually I did a good job. And I'm happy with how it turns out. Having the what broken up, having the kind of repeating stuff going on, and yeah, and the kind of little bits. It feels like it's got some energy to it. It feels legible, although maybe if I were to do it now, I might. I have been thinking about maybe in the next couple of years I might move to not handwriting my own text, because someone. Yeah, hi, Jerome. Thanks for watching along. So that is all of the wild cards. And yeah, the problem with adding these to in a bond is if you were to do these to a company that you're investing in, then would it just turn into... Would it... I mean, how much are people trying to win? That is part of the issue. Yeah, would it turn into people saying, okay, this card between your left ear and your right foot, and also touching both of those things, because technically you could use that for what? Because you can use as many words as you want. Or if you are doing it for yourself, would you say this card between the center of the earth and your ceiling? Yeah, if we say this card between the center of the earth and your ceiling, then you can give it to a company of your choice. Because in the actual game, it's never... If you're playing the Fast and Furious game, the player to your right decides. If you're playing the slow and sadistic game, whoever plays a card falls in the blank for their victim. And because you don't really have victims, maybe if other people communally decided, but we'd have to come up with some rules. Now we've got the triggered binds. Some binds require the player to do something whenever anyone draws. These actions need not be performed simultaneously. As long as you perform all these actions before the next draw occurs, you're fine. So if you forget and do your action a few seconds after a draw, that's okay. But if the next draw happens and you still haven't done your action, you lose. I feel like that bit was a bit complicated, but it was required just because people are like, oh, when exactly do I have to do it? Because it's whenever. And it's like, yeah, you do it, and okay, like we could totally do that, let the trader decide. I mean, we could give it a try. Maybe we can have a vote for those people who are in the chat. Votes from +2 to +1, 0. You have no opinion to -1 to -2. Should the wild cards today be added to in a bond? Anyway, so whenever anyone draws, and I think that for Inner Bind Junior, I made it whenever you draw, because whenever anyone draws, whisper their name. That was actually quite a nice one, and along with announce them. And just so people know, all of these, when everyone draws, propose to them, mention the weather, flatter them, compliment their technique, or argue with them, or honk like a car, cluck like a chicken, bark like a dog. So there's how many? 10 of these. There we go. So, in case people are wondering, I cut out an actual template of, okay, this is the shape of a speech bubble that I'm quite happy with. I drew it out in pencil, and then I copied it in different ways. So, like, whisper their name, that was as faint as I felt was appropriate. Making the animal noises, or making like a weird noise, it's got a similar kind of thing. Argue with them, that's got playing with the typography. Flatter them. Compliment their technique is probably my favorite, where it's got like flowers, like a. So, yeah, I don't know if you can see that so well. Let me make it bigger. Yeah. Does anyone else find this camera a little bit fuzzy? It's like it's focusing on stuff further away than I want to show. Yeah, it's not focusing on the cards when I bring it up. It's only focusing on the cards far away. I think that's what's going on. But anyway, let me actually. Yeah, so compliment their technique. Oh, now it's fuzzy for everything. Come on, focus here, please. Oh, so compliment their techniques, probably my favorite, with the rose and kissy. That's actually more of a tulip and a love heart. Propose to them. I try to have 3 icons for each. Ring 2 people together. Although I do see that, and I'm like, yeah. Then there's a wedding cake. Flatter them with the winky face, flower, and that's kind of just saying, okay, you're shiny. Argue with them with the expletives. That's kind of how comic books, like exclamation mark, hashtag, at, star, expletives. I did not turn off. That's not a manual decision that I make. Whenever anyone draws, mentions the weather. So you've got rain, snow, and sun. Announce them. That's just got someone announcing them. And whisper their name. Your name. Xade. Alan. Jerome. Nick. Alex. Bark like a dog. So it's 3 dogs, and inside the speech bubble, the dogs are barking again. And inside the speech bubble, the chickens are clucking again. And inside this speech bubble, the cars all have a honk casing. I don't know, maybe. I mean, all of these, bark like a dog and cluck like a chicken were replicated in Inner Bind Junior, but to be on your turn. Whisper your name and announce them. That's something that could only happen really when it was on everyone's turn. And I slightly missed that, although there were somewhat memory issues with. I don't know, is it funnier when you need to do it literally every time? Because, I don't know. Maybe we should play these and see how we got. Like, every turn, mention the weather. This could just be replaced to every turn. On anyone's turn, argue with them. On any trader's turn, flatter them. On any trader's turn, propose to them. I could actually see that being a bit triggering for some people. On anyone's turn, compliment their technique. and on anyone's turn, honk like a car. Yeah, I feel like that's something that I don't think anyone has. Do you not think they would work on the stream? Why not? I was thinking that they would. Do you know if anyone has officially proposed to someone using that card? No, I don't believe so, and I think it would be a terrible thing because, yeah, you kind of propose because the card says whenever anyone draws propose to them, and so they kind of think that you're just joking. I mean, that's just... Yeah, you want them, if you are asking someone a serious question, you want them to know that you're not just fooling around, surely. And I have no idea, not that I know of, but hopefully friendships have been formed. The thing about this is that it would be quick, that we would just be saying, okay, now it's X's turn, and then we've got beep beep and a couple of things. Yeah, we can decide that. Whenever anyone draws, pat your head. Whenever anyone draws, wave at them. And you notice that to kind of... I was worried about this looking too similar to this. Yes, it's in a kind of faster, slightly sloppier style, but even so, what I did, you'll notice the extra lines of motion and little smudges where I basically dry brushed in some extra bits. So hopefully you've got the idea of, hey, there's some sorts of motion going on. Whenever anyone draws, offer a high five. That was someone's favorite card at Dragon Meet, offering them a high five. Whenever anyone draws, wipe forehead. Whenever anyone draws, lick lips. Oh, this one's quite a arguably disturbing card. It's kind of like a dog, but then it's scratching so much that it seems like it's leaving really bad marks, but it's got kind of like a human bum, but also it's got these weird kind of like two-toed feet. What's going on with this creature? Yeah, this is probably one of the creepiest cards that I drew. Now I'm looking at it, and yeah, check out those eyes. It's like, yeah, look at me. Whenever anyone draws, scratch your back. Whenever anyone draws, clap your hands. Whenever anyone draws, touch head and shoulders. And of course, then you've got knees and toes. So if you've got them both, then you start saying head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes, head, shoulders, knees and toes, and eyes and ears and mouth and nose, head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Yeah. I'm aware that maybe, as I said, this was not a dog. Come on, this is clearly not a dog. As I say, look at its fingers, you know, two fingers. That's not a cartoon stylization. That's a deliberate choice, because this is not a dog. It's a dog-like creature. Similar to how this is not an actual lizard or some sort of dinosaur. It's a humanoid lizardy thing. And whereas, yeah, that's just a person in a kind of cat ninja costume. And whenever anyone draws, rub your belly. And that is the end of those triggered binds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we had 10 of them as well. I wonder how many wild cards we had. Maybe it was 22. I can't remember. Yep, 22 wild cards. Now, finally, we have the Communal Binds. This deck introduces some cards that are in landscape orientation. These are all Communal Binds. They affect everyone. When you play one, place it on the face-up pile in the center of the table. Only the top card of the pile needs to be obeyed. In this deck, all Communal Binds are also triggered, following the rules for triggered binds. Remember, you need to do the action before the next draw. If playing Soul and Sadistic, you don't need to follow the rules of any Communal Binds that you play. After playing a Communal Bind, elect the next player, not yourself. And so, yeah, these are things that everyone is meant to do. But I know that a lot of people don't read the rules, so they just say that, okay, this is something that the person does. But the reason that there's 3 people on these cards is because I want to say, yeah, this is for multiple people. And hey, here's 3 people who have big noses, pinching their nose because pinching, and I had a little motion thing to attract attention to the nose. Whenever you draw, pinch your nose. Whenever you draw, pull your ear. Whenever you draw, scratch your neck. Sure, you've got a giraffe, a snake, and an ostrich. That's fairly obvious. Whenever you draw, stroke your chin. It's like an evil kind of I feel like that's kind of like an evil scientist, a builder bloke, and like a French-looking kind of business person. Whenever you draw, stick out tongue. Oh man, this tongue here is not super obvious. I think I should have drawn, if I were to redraw this is the first card that's like, yeah, I would probably lighten up the lips just so that the tongue is a bit more obvious. You can't really see that at all. Whereas at least with the frog, you can see the tongue attached to the one-eyed lip creature with hooves. And the snake, you can see it clearly with the silhouette. But yeah, here, I wish I'd kind of, I don't know, had... yeah, maybe they should have all been in silhouette. Maybe they should have all been side-on. But all of these, none of these were even... I didn't even do any experiments for this. It was just, okay, here's a freebie. I'm sending to these people for free. I'm giving them more than they wanted. This is not the main game. Let me just get this done as quickly as possible because I'm already running late. Whenever you draw, waggle eyebrows. And there's some crazy eyebrow waggling going on, especially with this person who's got, look how wiggly and waggly those eyebrows are. Yeah. Whenever you draw, kiss the back of hand. So there's the fish creature from the one thumb finger touching mouth who's kissing the back of their own hand. Here's someone kissing the back of their own hand and someone back of their hand. Could be construed as a bit kinky if that's, you know, something that you might read into it. That might have been something that I intended. Not necessarily going to. Whenever you draw, bite your pinky. Why did I say bite? Oh, maybe it was because pinky's slightly easier to get to than thumbs sometimes. So yeah, all these people with really big teeth. And so here's someone in an animal costume. Here's someone who looks like they're naked except for wearing a raincoat. And here's a sort of doggy, ducky creature with big teeth wearing a grass skirt. There you go. And whenever you draw, puff your cheeks. So 2 humanoids. This was a sexy vampire creature. This sexy vampire was in thingy. I'm going to turn off my... Sorry, I'll turn off the audio again. So this is a balloon puffing their cheeks and jiggling your left elbow. I like how I've drawn. I'm happy with these. Looking back at this is actually the first time that I've properly looked at all these cards for quite a while. I feel like, yeah, I just was like, okay, here's something that I'm going to do. I'm only going to do 1,000 of. It feels like literally I will never reuse this artwork. And by telling people I will never reuse this artwork, then it freed me up. It freed me up to say, yeah, I'm blitzing through this. And I started doing like 3 or 4 every hour as I was like just sitting. And then I was doing like, okay, I'm doing 3 every hour. And then I'm having a wee break. So I'd like maybe go through 3 in like 45, 50 minutes. And then I have like a 10, 15-minute break, have a drink and of water, rehydrate, walk around the house quickly to stretch my legs. Then and there was effort. There was a lot of energy put into it, but maybe less time. And working for less time doesn't mean that you put less work into it. I mean, yes, I could say, frankly, I could do a 72-hour live stream. If by live stream you mean just, okay, I'm going to let everyone watch me sleep and I'm going to watch everyone make... I'm happy to let everyone watch me cooking some food. honestly, I am not. I probably would be up for that as a weird social experiment. I don't. I mean, I would hide my genitals and stuff. It would. I don't know. Like it says, there's definitely a bit. It's definitely a bit invasive, especially when I'm going to the shower. I mean, then I'd have to not shower at all during. Anyway, the point is that time spent does not necessarily equal work done. That's the point that I'm making, and yeah, and some things do require a lot of time spent. I'm not trying to take away from intricate, detailed work, and but there's something that I'm really proud of here with that little motions of the whenever you draw, jiggle the left elbow with this person. So I've got a question from Alex. Were there many cards you thought would be really fun but didn't work in testing? Yeah, like I can't think of things that so yeah, I can't. I think that things that I there were things that I thought would be fun, but were less fun. I mean, if I had a deck of 100 cards, I probably would have just done all the cards that I'd bothered to try out. And the truth is, like, yes, this deck I can't remember. I decided for some reason I would have 2 blank cards again. Maybe because I decided that blank cards are so valuable because they let people express their own creativity, and that's something I did really want to encourage, although not everyone's gone for. And so I guess there must be for I'm guessing there's 12 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of these communal binds. And so because there's a real restriction on how many I could have, it did force me to think, what are the more interesting noises? Because with the noises, it could be anything. And with I think it was basically a case of for the wild cards, the wild cards were a case of me looking at the cards that's already existed, and they were subverting the cards that's already existed. I didn't seek to use anything from the lower body or anything like that. I'd be interested actually to do an unboxing of Inabind of Yogi Guru and see all of them in order. Now, maybe on Sunday someone can win everything that I've unboxed, because I don't really. I've got a copy of Inabind somewhere, and maybe that would be a good prize. But that's limited to the UK. Anyway, so yeah, in answer to your question, not really. The design and development for the whole expansion deck was really fast. It was something that I really wanted to get done as quickly as possible. Now let's move back to the screen. And whenever you draw, shrug your shoulders. Yeah, here we've got a rhino person, a kind of big-footed, clowny person, and just someone. I don't know why I think of them as a clown. I think it's because of their big feet. And there's someone in a dress. Looks like they've got a wee tattoo or something, or maybe that's just the way it was rendered. And then finally, whenever you draw, give a thumbs up. This is one of my favourite cards because it's got Liz, who you might remember from their card as a mermaid, and it's got me, and also some sorts of, it's the creature from the Black Lagoon, because the reason that there is the creature from the Black Lagoon is that Liz also wanted to be drawn potentially as the creature from the Black Lagoon. And so that was kind of a reference to that, to kind of say, hey, you weren't drawn as the creature from the Black Lagoon, but because you're such a dear friend, sorry, I'm going through the cards, and here we've got Liz's original card from the original In a Bind, and yeah, that's Liz. I mean, I think this one's definitely more recognizable if you know the person, but I just feel like this one's a bit more joyous. And sometimes when you're trying to get someone who is, if you're trying to represent someone really accurately, sometimes that can get in the way of energy. So maybe that's something that I need to start really doing for the, maybe I need to reconsider exactly how I draw the cards for this game. Because when I eventually do all the arts for this game, bearing in mind there's 550, if I were to spend, 2 hours on each, or if I were to do it the way I did like that, then that would basically be about 2,000 hours. If I did it like that, then that's 550 divided by 3, which is, less than 200 hours. I mean, if I did it a wee bit every week, that's not too much. That feels like that might be a thing. And maybe I start making a stream of it, starting to draw some cards for a game wherein you bladder. Because a Scottish woman means talk at length at a fast rate without necessarily making very much sense, using as many cards as possible while we start to stream consciousness. I'm trying to finish before the timer runs out, keeping, and the name is very long. I'm not going to say the game name right now, although I know that January did have the whole name read out by a computer. Anyway, so that is all of the cards. We do have a little bit on the bottom which reminds you, stay healthy. Remember, this is a physical game. The triggered binds and communal binds dilute this, but in a bind is meant to be a test of flexibility and perhaps push you towards fatigue. This is 100% true. It is about apparently it's 185-ish hours. It's 550 divided by 3. And so, yeah, it's basically how many hours do I spend? If I spend, let's say, a couple of hours a week, that's, 2 years. I mean, that seems reasonable. And then maybe in 2 years' time, we have, that could be a thing. Like 2 years' time could be the putting together a game where you bladder. Anyway. And probably as I get more and more done, if people started to get excited about it, I'd be energized to do more than just a little bit. Anyway, it is meant to be a test of flexibility and perhaps push you towards fatigue. If you feel tired or sore, forfeit the game and stretch your body to loosen up. Some of the movements involved might result in you hitting someone or something if you're not careful. So be careful. That's what I'm saying. You might hit someone or something, but don't do that. Dinna be an umpty. That's what it all comes down to. The wild cards can be as tricky as you want or as easy as you want. You can be funny or sadistic, but bear in mind everyone's physical capabilities and don't encourage injuries. Accept no responsibilities for injuries sustained during this game. Be sensible. You are the master of your own destiny. And I know that has no legal consequence. You are the master of your own destiny. But I think what I'm basically saying there is, hey, litigious Americans, don't be suing me because you fell over. I mean, take some responsibility yourselves. Come on, people. Don't be saying, hey, here's a chainsaw, and it didn't say to not stop it with my hand. I think this is an actual case where in a chainsaw manual, now it has to avoid lawsuits, do not try to stop the chainsaw with your hand. Which is a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, this can cut through trees. That's what it's designed for, to slice through trees. And still, some people need to be told, don't cut through it with your hand. Anyway, but thankfully, I've never been litigated. Never had people do anything of that sort. And hopefully it will continue. let me know. Would you like to see any of these for the In a Bond game today? Yeah, let me know. What else are the normal sections? So, we've had In a Bind. We've had Looking Forward to, Hopes and Ambitions is over to you for this final section. Great. Okay. So, what are you looking forward to? What are your hopes and ambitions? Let me know in the chat. I am looking forward to having a shower. I kind of got up at 9, was quite a late time to bed, probably like maybe 2 o'clock, and going to have a shower, get ready for the 2 p.m. thing. I am genuinely looking forward to a shower. I'm looking forward to having. I felt like there's some interesting food that I bought. I definitely bought an iced Oreo. I had that last night. Have I just Oh no, wait! I've got sausages. I got reduced price sausages yesterday, and so last night. Okay, just so you know, sorry. I had I cooked up some spinach, frozen spinach, along with some chili and something else. There was another veg in there, and mushrooms. Oh yeah, oh my gosh, there's also half a box of mushrooms left in the fridge on the communal shelf. Maybe I'm going to have sausages and mushrooms and peas for my breakfast, for my brunch. And that is what I am personally looking forward to. And my hope and ambition is that that the 2 p.m. thing is going to go well. I mean, as I say, Bears Day, it is a thing. It's happening yesterday and today and tomorrow, UK time. Oh, the LDEC design competition has now finished. And there were 16 entries. That's 1-6. So this is quite exciting. Just to say, yeah, the LDEC design contest, the first year, I believe there were 17 entries. The second year, there were 9 entries, and I was a bit disappointed. But then I was thinking, oh, wow, yeah, why is it so much less? And then I thought about it. I was like, okay, the first year, it's a brand new thing. It's been coming for a couple of years. There's a lot of pent-up energy. And so now we get everyone's entries. And so, but hopefully from 2018, 2019 onwards, should this year's be actually, can I poll the audience? Can I ask you, what should I call this year's design competition? I mean, the one that just closed last night. Should it be called the 2019-2020 competition? Because in theory, you could have submitted your thing 11 months, 12 months ago, exactly 12 months ago. No, I mean, if you'd submitted it exactly 12 months ago, yeah, but if you'd submitted it 11 months ago, should I just make it 2020? Yeah, that's probably true. And maybe no, it's like the LDEC Design Competition 2020. Yeah, that seems good. And Andrew January agrees, because the focus is on the end, and I want people to acknowledge that they can be submitting it any time. But if you do have something, even in December, I would say, frankly, like, just sit on it for a while. Why not? Like, maybe you get another opportunity to play it, and maybe I should make more of a thing of starting to promote it at the start of the year. That could be a thing. So yeah, if we retroactively say, okay, the LDEC Design Competitions 2018 Categorical 1, 2019 Paul Mansfield's Unfinishable 1, and 2020 has just finished, and I've not even read all the contests, although I'm very curious, but I do need to sleep. I was so tempted to carry. I've got like about 30 Facebook notifications waiting, like just between like it's ridiculous. Anyway, so what I was going to say, so 2019, why did I have 17 entries in 2018 and then 9 entries in 2019? It was okay. This was the first time. It was all this pent-up energy. No, Alan, that is not. And nah, I'm going to make the submission time anytime. It's just like, if you submit now, like, frankly, you're doing yourself a disservice. And also it's easier for me if literally everything is just on the same Google form. Although when I get my better LDEC websites, which I'm really at the point where I might be able to afford someone to get them to make this website. Anyway, the point is that 17, 9, 16. I mean, you can see the graph. Like, I feel like what I was hoping was that it would go down and then slowly go back up and go back to before. But what I'm super excited about is that 16, that's almost as many as the first year. And so next year, maybe it's all continue to grow. I am aware that this year there's a lot more energy because thanks to Xate, who I believe initiated a lot of the entries. I mean, Xate, was it thanks to you that Alex was entering? Or Alex, would you have entered even if it wasn't for Xate? But hopefully people will continue to enter. I mean, if you don't quite manage to make it this year, I do hope that all the feedback that is given, I do want to, as the years go on, have more and more of a rigorous process. So I'm like, okay, first week, this is what I do. Second week, okay, we set aside time around my birthday to be playing all these games with a few other people. And yeah, apparently Alex was the role master and Xate only spurned them on a bit. I mean spurned, not spawned. Spawned means to give birth to. Spurned is like what you do with a horse, and that's where that figure comes from, because they're basically kicking spikes into a horse's side. So yeah, and I really appreciate that one, genuinely. Anyway, so yeah, with the LDEC design competition, I'm really excited. And if I were to count one of the entries, which I got via email, and then I said to the person, please submit it via this other method, but then they didn't. I mean, honestly, it's probably not going to win anyway. So it's not an official entry, but if we're playing 16 games, it feels like we might as well play 17. And so if I count that, you know, even if I say, okay, that one's definitely not going to win, then hopefully my feedback will encourage them to enter again in a year's time, because I've realized that that is the most valuable, and that's something that I'm really excited about. So anyway, I should probably do something all about the LDEC design contest later on, but I am really excited to play all these things. That's what I'm looking forward to, although that's quite far off. In the more recent future, I'm just hoping that today's a good day. It has been lovely chatting to all of you. If you want to reach out to me, I am stuffedbybez.com, twitter.com/stuffedbez, instagram.com/stuffedbez, twitch.tv/stuffedbez, facebook.com/thingsbybez, stuffedbybez@gmail.com, or YouTube. I don't have a proper page yet. Let me find my YouTube thing. And please, if you haven't already, then please do subscribe to my YouTube. And yeah, then to recap this is Inner Binds, the expansions. On Board Game Geek, I kind of say there's 3.5 expansions, because the triggered binds are kind of very similar. And it's not expansion. Someone said, is this actually expansion? No, it's expansions. That's the whole point. I don't expect people to play them all necessarily together. I want people to say, hey, we want to just be creative. Let's put in all the wild cards. Hey, we're playing with a big group. Now, because we're playing with a big group and we want to get people involved a bit faster, let's do some communal binds. Oh, you want more silliness? It's kind of seasoned to taste. That is what I intended. And that is why there are multiple expansions and why they are basically modular. Although I am aware that some people just shuffle them together, and whatever you do, that's fine. But let me know which ones you think you would like to see in a bond. I've not had oh shoot. Yes, my website. Shoot, I do need to sort that out. Thanks for reminding me. Oh, yeah, someone told me about that last week. I'm not going to be able to do that today or tomorrow. But hopefully I will sort it out the day after. Maybe I'll change that banner. Okay, I'll move it to my shop. Stuffbybez.bigcartel. Okay, so if you want to buy stuff from me, go to stuffbybez.bigcartel.com, or if you want to hear my thoughts at a very, about everything and have more communication from me probably than anywhere else, go to twitter.com/stuffbez. Instagram.com/stuffbez is basically the highlights of my photos. I try to never post more than once a day, and sometimes it's a few weeks. Then twitch.tv/stuffbez is the live videos. Facebook.com/thingsbybez is a mixture of the videos and the Instagram stuff, and stuffbybez@gmail.com is my email if you want to. Yeah, please let me know. Would you like to see any of these expansions in a bond? So to recap, we have the wild cards, we have the vocal triggered binds, we've got the physical triggered binds, and we've got these communal binds. Let me know what you think. And yeah. Thank you to everyone watching. Thank you to everyone who was, commenting along. And thank you to Alan Oughton and Xate for being such, for being people who are always consistently there. And yeah, thank you to Nick for popping in and being a lovely person. Thank you to Andrew January for also. I mean, when I say for being a lovely person, that kind of almost suggests that other people aren't being a lovely person, which is not at all what I mean. But thank you, everyone. And yeah, to wrap up, yeah, we don't need to wrap up. Please share, spread the word. I am going to be back at 1 p.m. and I will be hopefully talking to Liz Chu. Yeah, then at 2 p.m. is going to be our big thing for the day. We've got Rose today. We've got Doruk. We've got Xate as well for our final outing. And yeah, so come back. 1 p. That doesn't. Yeah, this. That's a terrible one. So there is only one thing left to do. And yep, if I go down. So yeah, you are a lovely person. Fraser might not be coming today. Fraser might be tomorrow because there was a little bit of miscommunication. But we've got Tom Cauldron, who's the designer, inventor of Categorical. And when you win a competition, you're never allowed to win another competition. But I do continue. But you do then get other favors. And Tom is now basically one of the constant judges of the LDEC design competition. You're not allowed to talk to Tom about your LDEC games. If you talk to Tom, if you talk to Tom, who are the judges? It's myself, obviously I know everyone. Then Tom, Chris, who no one's seen, Layla, who no one's seen, and David Brain, and Paul Mansfield. So yeah, and Andrew Dennison. So if you talk to Paul Mansfield, no one's seen. So basically, David Brain, Andrew Dennison, and Tom Cauldron, please don't talk to them about your All Deck design contests, or you will be disqualified. And I'm going to make that more clear for next year. Anyway, so Tom Cauldron, lovely person, made Categorical. Matt Warwick, who is the Offline Gamer podcast. Doruk recently became a published designer. Is still trapped in Turkey, unfortunately. Wants to get back to London. Fingers crossed it can soon. Rose is living in London, as is Leo, to be fair. Rose is a developer for ITB, and we're having Leo on later in the afternoon. And yeah, that is everything. And so, pop back. There is only one thing left to do, and that thing left to do is to sing. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. Well, now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. But now it's time to go. Bye-bye.